The bass thrummed through Maya Torres's chest like a second heartbeat, each pulse a reminder that she shouldn't be here. The Velvet Room wasn't the kind of place where hospital receptionists spent their Friday nights. It was all dark leather and darker secrets. The kind of upscale lounge where bottle service started at $1,000 and the clientele wore watches worth more than her annual salary. But her friend Nadia had insisted. 6 months, Maya. 6 months since you left him. You need to live again, not just survive. So here she was, perched on a barstool in a borrowed dress that felt too tight, too short, too everything. The emerald silk clung to curves she'd forgotten she had, curves that Derek had spent 3 years telling her were too much, not enough, wrong somehow. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, and for the first time in forever, she'd worn red lipstick. War paint, Nadia had called it. Maya sipped her cosmopolitan slowly, making it last. She couldn't afford another. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The $20 drink was already an extravagance, a small rebellion against the voice in her head that still sounded like Derek, telling her she was irresponsible with money, that she'd never amount to anything without him. Having fun? Nadia appeared at her elbow, flushed and grinning, her blonde hair wild from dancing. There's a guy by the DJ booth who keeps looking at you. Not interested. Maya's response was automatic, instinctive. The thought of another man's attention made her skin crawl, made her want to make herself smaller, invisible. Maya, Nadia's voice softened. Not every guy is Derek. I know that. But her body didn't know. Her body still flinched at raised voices, still calculated exit routes in every room, still carried the muscle memory of 3 years spent walking on eggshells. Nadia squeezed her hand. I'm going to dance. Come find me if you need me, okay? Maya nodded, watching her friend disappear into the crowd. The music shifted to something slower, more sensual. Couples pressed together on the dance floor, moving like they had all the time in the world, like danger was something that happened to other people. She was about to order water, to start the process of gracefully extracting herself from this experiment in normal life, when she felt it. That prickling awareness at the base of her skull. The sensation of being watched. Maya turned slowly, scanning the room with the hyper-vigilance that had become second nature. And then she saw him. Derek. Her ex-boyfriend stood near the entrance, his eyes locked on her with an intensity that made her blood run cold. He looked the same. Sandy hair styled with too much product, polo shirt tucked into designer jeans, that smile that had once made her feel special and now made her feel hunted. He wasn't alone. 2 of his friends flanked him, guys she recognized from the endless barbecues and football parties she'd endured, guys who'd laughed at his jokes about controlling his woman. Derek's smile widened when he saw her notice him. He said something to his friends, and they laughed. Then he started walking toward her. Maya's hands went numb. The cosmopolitan glass slipped from her fingers, but she caught it at the last second, the pink liquid sloshing over the rim. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs had turned to water. He was crossing the room now, weaving through the crowd with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no, who'd never faced consequences for anything he'd done. 20 feet away. 15. Move, she told herself. Move, move, move. But where? The main exit was behind him. The bathrooms were too far. Nadia was lost somewhere in the crush of bodies on the dance floor. Maya was alone, trapped, and Derek was 10 feet away now, his smile sharpening into something cruel. Her eyes swept the room desperately, searching for anything, anyone. And that's when she saw him. A man sat alone in a curved booth near the back of the lounge, partially hidden in shadow. He was maybe 35, with dark hair and a face that belonged on old Roman coins. Sharp angles, strong jaw, the kind of masculine beauty that was almost brutal in its intensity. He wore a black suit that looked like it cost more than her car, and there was something about the way he sat, perfectly still, perfectly controlled, that made every survival instinct in her body sit up and take notice. He was dangerous. She knew it the same way she knew fire burned, the same way she knew winter came after fall. It radiated from him like heat, like gravity. But right now, danger was relative. Derek was 5 feet away. Maya, baby, I've been looking everywhere for you. Without thinking, without planning, Maya moved. She crossed the space between her bar stool and the booth in 3 quick strides, her heels clicking against the polished floor. The man in the booth looked up as she approached, his eyes the color of smoke, in firelight, gray, but not cold. There was heat there, carefully banked but unmistakable. "I'm so sorry," Maya heard herself say, her voice surprisingly steady despite the panic clawing at her throat. "Please. I need your help." The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Assessment. Calculation. He glanced past her to where Derek had frozen mid-step, then back to her face. He saw everything in that single look. The fear she was trying to hide, the desperation, the trapped animal wildness in her eyes. "Sit," he said. His voice was deep, quiet, with an edge of command that made it less of a suggestion and more of an order. Maya didn't sit. She climbed onto his lap. The move was pure instinct, born from 3 years of learning to read a room, to understand power dynamics, to know when to make herself small and when to claim protection wherever she could find it. And right now, this stranger radiated the kind of power that made men like Derek think twice. She felt him tense beneath her, felt the coiled strength in his body, the way every muscle went rigid with surprise. His hands hovered for a second, uncertain, and then settled on her waist. Light touch. Careful, like he was handling something fragile. "Play along," Maya whispered, her lips close to his ear. She was trembling, she realized. Shaking so hard she was surprised he couldn't feel it. "Please, just for a minute. He's my ex. He's dangerous." The man's hands tightened fractionally on her waist. How dangerous? The question was quiet, almost casual, but there was steel underneath it. "Restraining order dangerous," Maya admitted, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. "But it expired last week and he knows it." "Maya!" Derek's voice cut through the music, sharp with barely controlled rage. He'd stopped a few feet from the booth, his face mottled red and white in the dim light. "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" The man beneath Maya shifted slightly, and suddenly his presence felt different. Bigger. More. He didn't stand, didn't raise his voice, didn't do anything overt. But the air around them changed, like the moment before lightning strikes. "I think," the man said, his voice carrying despite its quietness, "she's exactly where she wants to be." His hands moved on Maya's waist, pulling her closer, more possessive. "Now, I don't believe we've been introduced. I'm Dante Moretti." The name hit the space between them like a bomb. Derek's face went from red to white in an instant. His friends, who'd been approaching behind him, stopped dead. One of them actually backed up a step. Around them, Maya felt rather than saw other people take notice. A shift in attention, in energy. Heads turning, conversations stopping. "Mr. Moretti." Derek's voice cracked slightly on the name. "I didn't realize. This is just a misunderstanding. Maya's my girlfriend, and she, ex-girlfriend." Maya corrected, finding her voice. Her heart hammered against her ribs. But the solid warmth of the stranger beneath her, this Dante Moretti, gave her courage she didn't know she had. Very ex. "We had a fight." Derek tried again, his smile desperate now, placating. "You know how it is, couple stuff." "She's being dramatic." Dante's thumb traced a slow circle on Maya's hip bone, the gesture strangely intimate, grounding. She felt him studying Derek with the same cool assessment he'd given her, but this time there was no warmth in it, only calculation. "I know exactly how it is," Dante said softly. "I know men who put their hands on women, who think a restraining order is a suggestion, who follow their exes to upscale lounges and try to intimidate them into coming back." His voice dropped even lower, each word precise as a scalpel. "I know exactly what you are." Derek's face twisted with impotent rage. "You can't just—" "I can. 2 words, absolute. Final. Leave, now. And if I hear you've gone anywhere near her again, if you so much as look at her from across the street, I'll take it personally." Dante's smile was cold enough to frost glass. "You don't want me to take things personally." For a long moment, Derek didn't move. Maya could see the calculation in his eyes, the wounded pride warring with self-preservation. She knew that look, had seen it before, usually right before he— "Come on, man," one of Derek's friends said, grabbing his arm. "Let's just go." Derek jerked his arm free but took a step back. "This isn't over, Maya." "Yes, Dante said, and something in his tone made Derek flinch. It is. They left. Derek and his friends threading back through the crowd, heading for the exit. Maya watched them go, barely breathing, waiting for Derek to turn around, to come back, to escalate the way he always did when he felt disrespected. But he didn't. He just kept walking until he disappeared through the entrance, and then he was gone. Maya realized she was still sitting on a stranger's lap, a stranger whose hands were still on her waist, whose body was still warm and solid beneath her, whose heart she could feel beating against her back, steady and strong. "I'm sorry," she said, starting to move, to climb off. "I shouldn't have. Stay." His voice was quiet but firm. "Give it a minute. Make sure he's really gone." Maya froze, caught between embarrassment and the realization that he was right. Derek might be waiting outside, might be in the parking lot, might be anywhere. "I'm Maya," she said, because she didn't know what else to say. "Maya Torres. I know." There was the ghost of amusement in his voice. "You introduced yourself, very politely, considering you then proceeded to climb onto my lap without asking." Heat flooded her cheeks. "I didn't know what else to do. He was right there, and I just..." She trailed off, unable to explain the panic, the fear, the way her body had made decisions her brain couldn't process fast enough. "Smart move," Dante said, surprising her. "You identified the most dangerous person in the room and put yourself under their protection. Good survival instinct." Maya turned her head to look at him over her shoulder. Up close, he was even more devastating. All sharp lines and controlled power, eyes that saw too much. "You're the most dangerous person in the room?" By a considerable margin. It wasn't a boast, just a fact, delivered with the same casual certainty as someone stating the sky was blue. "Who are you really?" Maya asked. "People don't react like that to just a name." Dante's hands shifted on her waist, and for a second she thought he might push her away, might end this strange moment of intimacy and protection. Instead, he leaned back slightly, giving her space while keeping her steady. "I'm someone your ex was very smart to be afraid of," he said carefully. "Someone who takes certain things very seriously, violence against women being high on that list." The words were almost gentle, but there was iron underneath. Maya felt something unknot in her chest, some tight ball of fear that had been there so long she'd forgotten it existed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for playing along. For making him leave. I wasn't playing." Dante's voice was quiet enough that she almost didn't hear him over the music. "Men like him respond to one thing: power, fear. The understanding that there are people in this world who won't tolerate their behavior." Maya's breath caught. She should move, should thank him properly and leave. Find Nadia, go home. But something kept her frozen in place. Maybe it was the warmth of his hands on her waist. Maybe it was the first time in 6 months she'd felt actually safe, like someone might stand between her and danger instead of being the danger himself. "How long did you stay with him?" Dante asked. Not accusatory, just curious, like he was trying to understand a puzzle. 3 years. The admission hurt. 3 years too long, and you got out, barely. Maya's hands were shaking again. She pressed them against her thighs, trying to steady them. "He broke my phone the night I left. Threw it against the wall when I said I was done. I had to borrow money from Nadia to get a new one, to get the restraining order, to do everything." Dante was quiet for a moment. Then, "Where's your friend now?" "Dancing. Somewhere." Maya scanned the crowd but couldn't spot Nadia's blonde hair. "She's the one who convinced me to come out tonight. Said I needed to start living again. And instead, you got me." There was dark humor in his voice. "Instead, I got lucky," Maya corrected. "Most people wouldn't have helped. Would have told me to handle my own problems. Most people aren't me." It should have sounded arrogant. Somehow it just sounded true. Maya finally forced herself to move, to slide off his lap and onto the booth seat beside him. The loss of contact felt like stepping out of sunlight into shadow. "I should let you get back to your evening," she said, even though the thought of facing the rest of the night alone made her want to crawl out of her skin. "I'm sure you didn't come here to rescue random women from their exes." Dante turned to face her, and in the dim light of the booth, his eyes looked almost silver. "I didn't come here for anything in particular," he said. "Business associate owns the place. I was just..." He paused, seeming to search for words. "Killing time." "Well, Thank you for killing it with me. Maya reached for her purse, which she'd somehow managed to hold on to through everything. Her hands were still shaking. She noticed Dante noticing. You're not okay, he observed. I'm fine. The lie was automatic. 3 years of practice making herself fine, making herself small, making her fear invisible. Dante's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. How long were you afraid he'd find you? The question hit too close to home. Maya looked away, focusing on the crowd, the dancers, anything but the man beside her who saw too much. Since the day I left, she admitted. Chicago's a big city, but it's never felt big enough. I changed my route to work. Started shopping at different grocery stores. Joined a gym across town instead of the one near my apartment. She laughed, the sound bitter. I made myself paranoid, and it still wasn't enough. He still found me. That's not paranoia, Dante said quietly. That's survival. There's a difference. Maya turned back to him, surprised by the understanding in his voice. You sound like you know something about it. I know a lot about survival. He paused, studying her face with that unsettling intensity. And I know that man isn't going to stop just because I told him to. Not tonight, maybe. But men like him don't forget. Don't forgive. They wait. The words sent ice down Maya's spine because they were true. She'd known it even as Derek walked away. This wasn't over. It would never be over as long as they lived in the same city, breathed the same air. Then what do I do? The question came out smaller than she intended. Defeated. Dante was quiet for a long moment, his eyes never leaving hers. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a card. Simple black cardstock, silver lettering. Just a name and a phone number. You call me, he said, pressing the card into her hand. If he comes back. If he threatens you. If you even think he might be following you, you call, and I'll handle it. Maya stared at the card, at the name embossed in silver. Dante Moretti. No title, no business name. Just the name that had made Derek and his friends flee like rabbits from a wolf. I can't just call a stranger every time I'm scared, she said, even as her fingers closed around the card. You sat on a stranger's lap 20 minutes ago. Dante's mouth quirked in something that might have been a smile if it had reached his eyes. Calling seems less dramatic. Despite everything, Maya felt her own mouth twitch. Fair point. Besides, Dante continued, his voice dropping, lower, more serious. You're not a stranger anymore. Not after tonight. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Maya wasn't sure she understood. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something in his expression that made her breath catch. Not pity. Not the condescending concern she'd gotten from her coworkers when she'd shown up with bruises poorly hidden by makeup. Something else. Something that looked almost like recognition. Like he'd seen too much darkness himself not to recognize it in others. Who are you really, Dante Moretti? Maya asked again, softer this time. Someone who can help you, he said simply. If you'll let me. Before Maya could respond, Nadia appeared at the booth, flushed and breathless from dancing. She stopped short when she saw Maya sitting with Dante, her eyes going wide. Oh my God, Maya, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were. Nadia's gaze darted between them, obviously trying to figure out what she'd walked into. Derek was here, Maya said, cutting through the confusion. This is Dante. He helped. Nadia's expression went from confused to furious in a heartbeat. That bastard. I'm going to kill him. Did he hurt you? Did he? He's gone, Dante said, his voice calm but authoritative enough that Nadia actually stopped mid-sentence. And he won't be coming back. Not tonight. Nadia looked at him, really looked at him, and Maya saw recognition dawn on her friend's face. Wait, you're Dante Moretti. Oh God. Oh my God. She turned to Maya. Do you know who this is? Someone dangerous, Maya said. I gathered that much. Dangerous? Nadia laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Maya, he owns half the South Side. The restaurants, the construction companies, she trailed off, clearly thinking better of finishing that sentence in present company. Maya's stomach dropped. You're Mafia. It wasn't a question. The pieces had already clicked into place. Derek's reaction. The way people had stepped back when Dante introduced himself. The casual authority in his voice, like someone used to being obeyed without question. Dante didn't deny it. I prefer private businessman with varied interests. That's what they all say, Nadia muttered. Maya should have been terrified. Should have grabbed her purse and run. But all she could think about was the careful way Dante had held her, the controlled power in his voice when he'd defended her, the understanding in his eyes when she'd admitted to being afraid. I think we should go, Nadia said, taking Maya's arm. Now. Before what? Maya asked, her eyes still locked on Dante's. Before I make another mistake? Too late. I already sat on a mobster's lap. Allegedly. Dante corrected, but there was that almost smile again. Maya stood, letting Nadia pull her up. The card Dante had given her was still clutched in her hand, the edges biting into her palm. Thank you, she said again, meaning it more than she could express. For tonight. For making him leave. Dante stood as well, and Maya realized just how tall he was. He towered over her even in her heels, all controlled power and coiled strength. He looked down at her with those smoke-colored eyes. And for a second, Maya felt like he could see straight through her, past all the walls she'd built, all the way down to the scared woman hiding underneath. Use that number, he said. I meant what I said. If he comes back, you call me. Why? The question slipped out before Maya could stop it. Why do you care what happens to some random woman you don't even know? Dante's expression shifted, something dark and pained flickering across his face before he buried it. Because I didn't help someone once when I should have, he said quietly. And I've regretted it every day since. The admission hit Maya like a physical blow. She saw the truth of it in his eyes, the weight he carried. The card, Dante said, nodding toward her closed fist. My personal number. Not many people. Have it. Don't lose it. Nadia tugged on Maya's arm, more insistent now. Maya, we need to go. This time, Maya let herself be pulled away. But she looked back over her shoulder as they wove through the crowd, and found Dante still watching her. He raised his glass in a small salute, and then the crowd swallowed him, and he was gone. Outside, the cold January air hit Maya's face like a slap. She breathed it in, trying to clear her head, trying to process everything that had just happened. Maya. Nadia grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to focus. Tell me you're not thinking about calling that number. Maya looked down at the card still clutched in her hand. In the streetlight, the silver lettering seemed to glow. He saved me tonight, she said. Derek would have made a scene, would have grabbed me, dragged me outside, done what he always does when I don't obey. But Dante stopped him with just a name. Because he's dangerous, Maya. Because he's exactly the kind of man you should be. Running from. Maybe, Maya said. Or maybe he's the kind of man Derek's afraid of. Which makes him the kind of man I need. She slipped the card into her purse before Nadia could argue further. They walked to Nadia's car in silence, Maya hyper-aware of every shadow, every sound, waiting for Derek to appear from the darkness. But he didn't. Dante's threat had been enough. For tonight at least. In the car, Maya pulled out her phone and added Dante's number to her contacts. Her thumb hovered over his name for a long moment before she closed the phone and stared out the window at the Chicago streets sliding past. Dante Moretti, mobster, dangerous man, her unlikely savior. The whisper he'd given her still echoed in her mind. Men like him respond to one thing: power. Maya had never had power. Had spent 3 years being stripped of it, piece by piece, until she'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight, to say no, to take up space without apologizing. But tonight, sitting on Dante Moretti's lap, feeling his strength at her back and his protection like a shield, she'd remembered. And God help her, she wanted to feel it again. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay in her studio apartment, staring at the water-stained ceiling while traffic sounds filtered through the thin walls. Every car door slamming made her jump. Every footstep in the hallway made her heart race. Every creak of the old building settling felt like Derek breaking in. At 3 a.m, she gave up and made coffee, sat at her tiny kitchen table with her phone in one hand and Dante's card in the other. The black cardstock felt expensive, heavy, real, unlike everything else in her life that felt temporary, breakable. She'd Googled him after Nadia dropped her off. Spent 2 hours falling down a rabbit hole of articles and rumors and speculation. Dante Moretti, heir to the Moretti family business, construction, real estate, waste management. And underneath it all, whispered connections into organized crime that were never quite proven but never quite denied. Photos showed him at charity galas in designer suits, always alone or with business associates. Never smiling, never relaxed. In every picture, he had that same controlled intensity she'd felt tonight, like a predator pretending to be civilized. One article mentioned his younger sister who died 5 years ago. Overdose, they said. Tragic accident. But the way the article danced around details made Maya think there was more to the story. Because I didn't help someone once when I should have. His words from tonight made more sense now. He'd lost someone, carried guilt for it. And tonight, he'd seen a chance for redemption in a scared woman climbing onto his lap. Maya's phone buzzed, making her jump so hard she nearly dropped her coffee. Text from an unknown number. Still awake? Her heart hammered. Only one person would text her at 3 a.m, with a new number she'd never given out. How did you get my number? She typed back. I make it my business to know things. Can't protect someone if I can't reach them. Maya stared at the message. Should have felt invasive, threatening even. Instead, she felt oddly relieved. I'm fine, she sent. Just couldn't sleep. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, he's parked outside your building. Silver Audi. Has been for the past hour. Ice flooded Maya's veins. She stood so fast her chair scraped against the floor, coffee sloshing over the rim of her mug. She moved to the window, careful to stay behind the curtain, and looked down at the street. There, 4 cars down. Silver Audi, with someone sitting in the driver's seat. The orange glow of a cigarette, periodically lighting up the interior. Derek. Maya backed away from the window, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. He'd followed her home. Of course he had. The restraining order was expired. Nothing was stopping him from sitting outside her apartment, from waiting, from her phone buzzed again. Don't panic. I have 2 men watching him. He makes a move toward your building. They'll stop him. You're having me watched? I'm keeping you safe. There's a difference. Maya's hands shook as she typed. This is insane. I don't even know you. You knew me well enough to trust me tonight. That hasn't changed. He was right. God help her. He was right. She'd trusted him on instinct alone, and he'd proven that instinct correct. Now he was doing exactly what he'd promised, protecting her. What do I do? She sent. Pack a bag. Enough for a few days. My driver will be there in 20 minutes. Maya's breath caught. What? No. I can't just leave my apartment. You can't stay there either. Not with him outside. Not when he knows where you live. I'll call the police. And tell them what? That your ex-boyfriend is legally parked on a public street? The restraining order expired. He's not breaking any laws. Yet. Maya wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she could handle this herself. But the truth was, she couldn't. Derek sitting outside her apartment wasn't illegal. It was just terrifying. And if she called the police, if they came and talked to him and left, he'd be angry, humiliated. And she knew exactly what Derek did when he felt humiliated. Where would I go? She typed, hating how small the question made her feel. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he'll never find you. I have a property in Lincoln Park. Guest house. Private. Secure. You'll have your own space. Why are you doing this? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, because I told you I'd handle it if he came back. I keep my word. Maya looked around her apartment, the studio she'd fought so hard to afford after leaving Derek. The first place that had ever been truly hers. Walking away felt like giving up, like letting Derek win again. But staying felt like painting a target on her back. 20 minutes, she sent. I'll be ready. Good. Pack light. My people will get anything else you need. Maya moved on. Autopilot. Threw clothes into a duffel bag. Grabbed her laptop, her phone charger, the photo of her mother who died when Maya was 17. Toiletries. The stuffed elephant she'd had since childhood that she'd never admit she still slept with. 15 minutes later, she was standing by her door, bag in hand, when her phone buzzed. Black SUV. Driver's name is Marcus. He knows where to take you. Maya took one last look at her apartment, at the life she'd built from nothing. Then she turned off the lights and walked out, locking the door behind her. The hallway was empty, the building silent except for muffled television sounds from neighboring apartments. People sleeping. People safe in their homes while Maya fled in the middle of the night. The SUV was idling at the curb when she emerged from the building. A man in a dark suit stood beside it, holding the rear door open. He was massive, 6'4" easily. with shoulders that strained against his jacket and a face that looked like it. He had stopped a few punches. "Miss Torres," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I'm Marcus. Mr. Moretti sent me." Maya glanced toward where Derek's Audi was parked. The interior was dark now. No cigarette glow. No movement. "Where is he?" she whispered, being encouraged to leave. Marcus said, "Mr. Moretti's other men are having a conversation with him, explaining that this street isn't healthy for him to be on." As if on cue, the Audi's engine started. Headlights flared. Then Derek's car pulled away from the curb and disappeared down the street, faster than was probably legal. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "May I?" Marcus gestured to her bag. She handed it to him, and he placed it gently in the trunk before returning to hold the door. The SUV's interior was immaculate. Leather seats, tinted windows, the faint scent of expensive cologne. Maya slid in, her heart still racing, and Marcus closed the door behind her. They pulled away from her apartment, building, and Maya watched it disappear in the side mirror. Everything she'd built, everything she'd fought for, gone in 20 minutes because she'd sat on a mobster's lap. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus will take care of you. The guest house is fully stocked. Secure. No one knows about it except my most trusted people. You'll be safe there. When will I see you?" Maya typed, then immediately wanted to delete it. Too needy, too dependent. But she'd already sent it. "Tomorrow. I have some things to handle tonight. But I'll check on you in the morning. Make sure you have everything you need." "Thank you," she sent. "I don't know how to repay you don't. This isn't a transaction, Maya. This is me keeping you safe. No payment required." The drive to Lincoln Park took 30 minutes. They wound through Chicago streets, past closed shops and empty parks, until Marcus turned into a neighborhood that made Maya's apartment look like a slum. Mansions lined the streets. Real mansions, with gates, and security cameras and landscaping that probably cost more than her annual salary. Marcus pulled up to a modern home at the end of a cul-de-sac. Glass and steel, all clean lines and expensive architecture. He drove past the main house to a smaller structure in the back, still larger than Maya's entire apartment building. "The guest house," Marcus explained, getting out and opening her door. "Mr. Moretti's property. He doesn't use it often. You'll have complete privacy." He handed her a key card and led her to the entrance. The door unlocked with a beep, and lights automatically illuminated as they stepped inside. Maya's breath caught. The interior was stunning. Open-concept living space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a private garden. Kitchen with marble countertops and appliances that looked like they belonged in a restaurant. Comfortable furniture in neutral tones. Art on the walls that she suspected was original, not prints. "Bedrooms through there," Marcus pointed. "Master bath has a soaking tub and separate shower. Pantry and fridge are fully stocked. Mr. Moretti had his housekeeper prepare everything this evening." "This evening?" Maya stared at him. "But how did he—" "Mr. Moretti plans ahead," Marcus said simply. "He had everything ready in case you needed somewhere to go." The implication hit her. Dante had expected Derek to escalate, had prepared for this exact scenario before Maya had even left the lounge. "There's a security system," Marcus continued, showing her a panel by the door. "Already armed. Anyone tries to get in, it alerts Mr. Moretti's people immediately. You're safe here, Miss Torres." "Maya," she said automatically. "Just Maya?" Marcus nodded. "Maya. I'll be outside in the SUV if you need anything." "Mr. Moretti wants someone on site until he arrives tomorrow. You're going to sleep in your car?" "It's my job." He said it without resentment. Just simple fact. I've slept in worse places. After Marcus left, Maya explored the guest house in a daze. Every detail screamed wealth: the Egyptian cotton sheets, the bathroom stocked with luxury toiletries, the wine fridge filled with bottles she couldn't pronounce. There was even a walk-in closet with clothes in her size. Jeans, sweaters, yoga pants, a winter coat that looked brand new. The housekeeper had been thorough, unsettlingly thorough. Maya sat on the edge of the massive bed and finally let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. The fear, the anger, the bone-deep exhaustion of being hunted by a man she'd once thought she loved. Her phone buzzed. Nadia, finally responding to the text Maya had sent from the car. "What do you mean you're at Moretti's guest house?" Maya, this is insane. You can't just move in with a mobster. I'm not moving in with him, Maya typed back. I'm staying at his guest house, and Derek was parked outside my apartment. What was I supposed to do? Call the police. Call your landlord. Literally anything except putting yourself in debt to the Mafia. He said, no payment required. Maya, men like Dante Moretti don't do anything for free. There's always a price. Maya stared at the message, then at the luxurious room around her. Nadia was right. Of course she was right. Nobody gave this much without expecting something in return. But what did Dante Moretti want from a broke hospital receptionist with a psychotic ex-boyfriend? She fell asleep before she could figure out an answer. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a moment of pure panic before she remembered where she was. Lincoln Park, guest house, Dante Moretti's property. Her phone showed 8 missed texts from Nadia and one from a number she'd saved last night. How did you sleep? Dante, checking on her like he'd promised. Better than expected, she sent back. This place is incredible. Good. I'll be there in an hour. We need to talk. Maya's stomach flipped. She showered quickly in the massive bathroom, blow-dried her hair with the expensive dryer she found in a drawer, and changed into jeans and a sweater from the closet. Everything fit perfectly, which should have been comforting but was mostly creepy. She was making coffee in the state-of-the-art machine when a knock came at the door. The security panel showed Dante on the small screen, dressed more casually than last night in dark jeans and a black Henley that showed off broad shoulders and muscled arms she hadn't fully appreciated under his suit. Maya opened the door, and for a second they just stared at each other. In daylight, without the dim lounge lighting and panic clouding everything, she could see him clearly. The sharp line of his jaw, the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the way his gray eyes tracked over her face like he was cataloging every detail. You look better, he said finally. More rested. Hard not to be in that bed. Maya stepped back to let him in. I think I slept on a cloud. Swedish. Mattress. $8,000. He said it casually, like that was a normal amount to spend on something to sleep on. Coffee? Just made some. Maya poured 2 cups, added cream to hers, left his black because she had no idea how he took it. He accepted the cup with a small nod and moved to the windows overlooking the garden. Even in casual clothes, he radiated that controlled power. Like violence was always an option, just carefully leashed. We need to discuss your ex-boyfriend, Dante said without preamble. And what happens next? Maya wrapped both hands around her coffee mug, needing something to hold on to. Derek left last night. Your men scared him off. For now. Dante turned to face her. But he'll be back. Men like him don't handle rejection well. Add in public humiliation, me claiming you in front of witnesses, and he's going to escalate. So, what do I do? Hide here forever? No. Dante's expression was thoughtful, calculating. We make him believe you're under my protection permanently. That touching you means going to war with me. That's the only language he understands. Maya's hands tightened on her mug. And how do we do that? You stay here. At least for a few weeks. Let him see you entering and leaving my property. Let word spread that you're connected to me. He paused. It needs to be visible, convincing. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend. I want you to be safe. Dante's voice was firm. If that requires people thinking you're with me, then yes. It's the most efficient solution. Maya wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she could handle Derek herself. But she'd tried handling Derek herself for 3 years. Look where that had gotten her. What about your life? She asked instead. Your business? Having a random woman staying at your property can't be convenient. Something flickered across Dante's face. This property is separate from my main residence. You won't be in my way. And if you're worried about my reputation, a ghost of a smile touched his lips. I've been called worse things than a man who protects women from abusive ex-boyfriends. People will think I'm your... Maya couldn't quite finish the sentence. Mistress? Girlfriend? Does it matter what they think if it keeps you alive? The bluntness of it stole her breath. You really think he'd kill me? Dante moved closer, and Maya found herself pinned by the intensity of his gaze. I think men who strangle their girlfriends for talking back don't suddenly develop impulse control. I think restraining orders are pieces of paper that only work on people who respect the law. And I think you already know how dangerous he is, or you wouldn't have climbed onto my lap last night. He was right. Maya had felt Derek's hands around her throat, had seen the rage in his eyes when she'd challenged him, had lived in fear of the day he'd take it too far. How long? She whispered. How long would I need to stay here? Until he moves on, finds a new target, or Dante's jaw tightened. Until I handle it more permanently. What does that mean? It means I have resources Derek doesn't. Ways of making problems disappear that don't involve you hiding forever. His expression was carefully neutral. But that's a conversation for another time. Right now, I need to know if you trust me enough to stay. Maya looked around the guest house. At the expensive furniture and the stocked kitchen, and the safety she'd never been able to afford on her own. Then she looked at Dante, at the man who'd stepped between her and danger without hesitation, who'd sent his driver at 3 a.m, who was offering her protection when no one else would. I have to work, she said. I can't just disappear. I have bills, responsibilities, already handled. Dante pulled out his phone, showed her an email. I called your supervisor at the hospital this morning. Told him you'd be taking a temporary leave of absence due to a family emergency. 2 weeks, fully paid. After that, we'll reassess. Maya stared at the email. You can't just do that. I already did. Your supervisor was very understanding when I explained the situation. Dante's expression darkened. And when I mentioned I'd be making a substantial donation to the hospital's new wing, you bribed my boss? I ensured your job security while you're under my protection. There's a difference. Maya wanted to be angry. Should have been angry. But all she felt was a strange relief. For the first time in 6 months, someone was handling things, making decisions, protecting her. She didn't have to figure it all out alone. Okay, she heard herself say. 2 weeks. But I'm not your prisoner. I'm not trapped here. Of course not. Dante's voice softened slightly. You're free to come and go. Marcus will drive you anywhere you need. Shopping, seeing friends, whatever. The only rule is you don't go anywhere alone. Not until we know Derek's backed off. And if he doesn't? Back off, I mean. Dante's smile was cold. Then we moved to more aggressive solutions. A knock interrupted whatever Maya might have said. Marcus appeared at the door, his expression apologetic. Boss, he said. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. The Bennett contract. Dante's jaw tightened. How bad? Bad enough that you need to handle it personally. Dante looked at Maya, something like regret crossing his face. I need to deal with this. Business that can't wait. But I'll be back this evening. Marcus stays with you. Don't leave the property without him. I'm not a child, Maya said, bristling at the command. No. Dante moved closer. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from his body. You're a woman being hunted by a violent ex-boyfriend. Which means until he's not a threat, you follow my rules. Understood? His tone left no room for argument. Maya lifted her chin, refusing to be intimidated despite the fact that he towered over her, despite the controlled danger in every line of his body. Understood, she said. As long as you understand that I'm doing this by choice. Not because you're ordering me around. Dante's mouth quirked. Noted. I'll see you tonight. He left, Marcus trailing behind him. Maya watched them go, then slumped against the kitchen counter. What had she gotten herself into? The day passed slowly. Maya tried to work on her laptop, responding to emails and organizing files, but concentration was impossible. She kept checking her phone, checking the security cameras, jumping at every sound. Around 3, Nadia called. Are you okay? I've been losing my mind. Tell me you're okay. I'm fine. Maya moved to the window, staring out at the manicured garden. Better than fine, actually. This place is incredible. Maya, this isn't a vacation. You're hiding from your ex-boyfriend at a mobster's house. That's not fine. That's terrifying. It would be more terrifying to go back to my apartment and wait for Derek to break in. Nadia was quiet for a moment. He was really outside your building? For over an hour. Dante's men made him leave. Dante's men? Nadia's voice was strained. Listen to yourself. You're talking about mobsters like they're security guards. These are dangerous people, Maya. So is Derek. Derek's a piece of shit, but he's not organized crime. He doesn't have the connections or the resources to... Nadia stopped. Wait, you think Derek's more dangerous than Dante Moretti? I think Derek would kill me and call it passion. Dante's protecting me. Maya surprised herself with the certainty in her voice. There's a difference. Or maybe you're so starved for someone to take care of you that you can't see you're trading one controlling man for another. The words hit like a slap. Maya's grip tightened on her phone. That's not fair. Isn't it? Derek isolated you, made all your decisions, convinced you that you needed him. And now Dante's doing the same thing. Different methods, same result. You're dependent on him. For a few weeks, until Derek moves on. And what if he doesn't? What if Dante decides you're useful to keep around? What if, Nadia's voice cracked, what if I lose you to this world? What if you disappear into his life and I never see you again? Maya felt tears burning behind her eyes. You won't lose me. I promise. This is temporary. Everything's temporary until it's not. But Nadia's voice softened. Just be careful, please. Don't let him make you forget who you are. After they hung up, Maya sat with Nadia's words echoing in her head. Was this just another form of control? Was she so desperate for protection that she'd handed her freedom to a different, dangerous man? She looked around the guest house, the luxury that wasn't hers, the clothes she hadn't chosen, the life that felt borrowed, temporary, like it could evaporate at any moment. But at least here, she could breathe, could sleep without jumping at every sound, could exist without constantly looking over her shoulder. That had to count for something. Her phone buzzed. Text from Dante. Bennett, situation resolved. On my way back. Have you eaten? Maya realized she hadn't even thought about food. No, she sent. I'll bring dinner. Italian okay? Perfect. An hour later, Dante returned, carrying bags from a restaurant Maya recognized as one of the most expensive in Chicago. He'd changed into black slacks and a dark gray shirt that made his eyes look almost silver. I wasn't sure what you liked, he said, unpacking containers onto the kitchen island. So I got a variety. Chicken piccata, seafood risotto, carbonara, salad. This is too much food. Then we'll have leftovers. He pulled out plates, silverware, moved around the kitchen like he'd been there 1,000 times. Wine? I probably shouldn't. You're safe here. 1 glass won't hurt. He poured 2 glasses of red wine that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget, then gestured to the living room. Sit. Talk to me. They settled on the couch, plates balanced on their laps, and for a few minutes, just ate in comfortable silence. The food was incredible, rich and perfectly seasoned, and probably prepared by a chef who'd trained in Italy. How was your day? Dante asked. Like this was normal. Like they were a normal couple having dinner, not a mobster and the woman he was protecting from her violent ex. Weird, Maya admitted. I'm not used to having nothing to do. No work, no obligations. Just sitting. You could explore the main house if you want. There's a library. Pool. Gym. Your house? Your house? It's empty most of the time. I'm usually working. Dante took a sip of wine. May as well get some use out of it. Don't you live there? Sometimes. When I'm not traveling or dealing with business that keeps me out all night. He set down his glass. I'm not home much. Haven't been since my sister died. The admission hung in the air between them. Maya set down her own glass carefully. What happened to her? She asked softly. If you don't mind talking about it. Dante was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Sophia. Her name was Sophia. She was 23 when she died. Overdose, pills and alcohol. I'm so sorry. She was dating someone. Dante's voice had gone flat, emotionless. The way people talk when the only alternative is breaking down. Guy named Marcus. Different Marcus than my driver. He was Dante stopped, his jaw working. He was like your Derek. Controlled her, isolated her, convinced her she was worthless without him. Maya's chest tightened. She knew exactly what that felt like. I didn't see it, Dante continued. I was too busy with business, building my empire. I'd see her at family dinners and think she was quiet. Sad maybe, but I didn't push, didn't ask questions. Didn't protect her when she needed it most. That wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? Dante turned to look at her, and the pain in his eyes was raw. I had all the power in the world, all the resources. I could have made him disappear with a phone call. But I was too focused on business to notice my sister was drowning. You didn't know. I should have. His hands clenched into fists. The night she died, she called me. 3 times. I was in a meeting. I didn't answer. The next morning, her roommate found her dead on the bathroom floor. Maya's hand moved without conscious thought, covering his fist with her palm. You can't carry that. You can't blame yourself for, can't I? Dante's voice was barely above a whisper. She reached out, asked for help, and I was too busy to answer. They sat in silence, Maya's hand still covering his. She felt the tension in his body, the grief he carried like a physical weight. "Is that why you helped me?" she asked finally. "Because I remind you of her?" "Partly." Dante's eyes met hers. "You have the same look she did near the end. Like you're always calculating escape routes. Always waiting for the next blow. Always apologizing for existing." The description was too accurate. Maya looked away. "But it's more than that," Dante continued. "When you climbed onto my lap last night, when you looked at me with those terrified eyes and asked for help," he paused. "I saw a chance to not fail someone, to actually use all this power I've built for something that matters. I matter?" The question came out smaller than she intended. "Yes. Simple. Absolute. You matter, Maya." Something cracked open in Maya's chest. She'd spent 3 years being told she was worthless, that no one would want her, that she was lucky Derek put up with her. And now this dangerous man who barely knew her was saying she mattered. Like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For last night. For this place. For—" her voice broke. "For seeing me." Dante's hand turned under hers, his fingers threading through her own. "You're not invisible, Maya. Not anymore." They stayed like that, hands intertwined, until the food grew cold and the sun set beyond the windows. And for the first time in years, Maya felt the tight knot of fear in her chest begin to loosen. Maybe Nadia was wrong. Maybe this wasn't about control. Maybe it was about two broken people finding unexpected safety in each other's damage. Maya's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. She pulled it out, expecting Nadia again. Instead, it was a text from an unknown number. "Enjoy your new boyfriend while it lasts. You'll come back to me. They always do. Derek." Maya's hands started shaking. Dante saw the message before she could hide it, his expression going from gentle to lethal in a heartbeat. "How did he get this number?" Dante's voice was dangerously quiet. "I don't know. I changed it after I left him, but maybe—" Maya's mind raced. "He has connections, friends who work in phone stores. He could have—" Another text came through. "Nice place in Lincoln Park. Guest house looks cozy. Tell Moretti I said thanks for keeping you warm." Ice flooded Maya's veins. "He knows I'm here." Oh God, he knows. Dante was already on his phone, barking orders. "Marcus, get here now. Torres's ex located the property. I want a full security sweep. And find out how the fuck he got her new number." He ended the call and turned to Maya, his expression hard. "Pack a bag. Small one. Just essentials." "What? Why?" "Because this location is compromised. We're moving you somewhere else. Somewhere he'll never find. But I thought I had more time to set up proper security." Dante's jaw clenched. "I underestimated how obsessed he is. That changes now." Another text. "You can run to your mob boyfriend. Won't matter. I'll find you. I always find you." Maya's vision tunneled. 3 years of running, of hiding, of changing her life to stay away from him, and he'd still found her, still tracked her down. Still, Maya. Dante's hands were on her shoulders, steadying her. "Look at me." She forced her eyes to focus on his face. "He will never touch you again," Dante said, each word precise and absolute. "I promise you that. Whatever I have to do, whatever lines I have to cross, he will not hurt you. Do you understand?" Maya nodded, unable to speak past the fear closing her throat. "Good." Dante pulled her into his arms, and Maya went without resistance, pressing her face against his chest. His heart beat steady and strong beneath her cheek. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "I've got you, and I'm not letting go." For better or worse, Maya believed him. The safe house Dante moved her to wasn't a house at all. It was a penthouse apartment in a building he owned in the Gold Coast, 40 stories of steel and glass that scraped the Chicago sky. Marcus drove them there in the middle of the night, taking routes that doubled back and circled until Maya was completely disoriented. "No, one knows about this place except my closest people," Dante explained as they rode the private elevator to the top floor. "It's where I go when I need to disappear." The penthouse was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, modern furniture in shades of gray and black, a kitchen that looked like it had never been used. But what struck Maya most was how impersonal it felt. No photos, no art that meant anything, just expensive emptiness. "You live here?" she asked. "Sometimes. When I need to think." Dante set her bag down, then moved to the windows. The city spread out beneath them, lights glittering like fallen stars. It's secure. 24-hour doorman who's on my payroll. Cameras on every floor. Derek would need an army to get to you here. Maya joined him at the windows, wrapping her arms around herself. How long can I keep running? You're not running, you're regrouping. Dante turned to face her. There's a difference. Is there? Maya's voice cracked. Because it feels like my whole life has become about staying one step ahead of him. And I'm tired, Dante. I'm so tired of being afraid. Then we end it. The words were quiet but carried the weight of a promise. Permanently. Maya's breath caught. What does that mean? Dante's expression was carefully neutral, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. It means I have resources, ways of making problems disappear. Legal problems, illegal problems, human problems. You're talking about killing him. I'm talking about protecting you. However, that needs to happen. Maya should have been horrified, should have told him no, that she couldn't be responsible for someone's death, that there had to be another way. But standing in that penthouse, looking at the man who'd upended his life to keep her safe, all she felt was a terrible, fierce relief. I can't ask you to do that, she whispered. You're not asking. I'm offering. Dante moved closer, close enough that she could feel the fine heat of his body. Men like Derek don't stop, Maya. They escalate. They obsess. Eventually, they kill. I've seen it happen too many times. Your sister. Her boyfriend didn't kill her directly, but he destroyed her piece by piece until she couldn't see any way out except pills and alcohol. Dante's jaw clenched. I won't watch that happen to you. Maya looked up at him, at the controlled fury in his expression, the protective intensity that had drawn her to him from the start. If you do this, if you handle Derek, I'm complicit. I become part of your world. You're already part of it. The moment you sat on my lap, the moment Derek saw us together, you became mine to protect. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. The only question is whether you trust me enough to let me finish what we started. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She thought about Derek's hands around her throat, the fear she'd lived with for years, the hypervigilance that exhausted her, the constant calculation of escape routes and worst-case scenarios. She thought about the text messages. I'll find you. I always find you. He would. Unless someone stopped him permanently. Okay, Maya breathed. Do it. Make him go away. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Not satisfaction, exactly. More like grim determination. It'll take a few days to arrange. In the meantime, you stay here. With me. With you? Maya's pulse quickened. I thought this was your private space. It is, which makes it the safest place for you. Dante's hand dropped from her face. The guest room's through there. Everything you need. But Maya, he caught her hand, stopping her from moving away. Once this is done, once Derek's handled, you're free. No obligations, no debt. You can walk away and build whatever life you want. And if I don't want to walk away? The words slipped out before Maya could stop them. Dante's eyes darkened. Then we'll figure out what that means. Together. 3 days passed in strange domestic intimacy. Dante worked from the penthouse, taking calls in Italian and Russian that Maya pretended not to hear. She cooked dinners with groceries that appeared mysteriously in the kitchen. They ate together, talked about everything except Derek and what was being arranged in the shadows. Maya learned that Dante took his coffee black, that he had a scar on his ribs from a knife fight when he was 19, that he'd wanted to be an architect before his father died and left him the family business. That he played piano there was a sleek black instrument in the corner of the living room that his fingers found late at night when he thought she was asleep. She learned the sound of his footsteps, the way he moved through space like a predator, all coiled grace and controlled power. The rare moments when his guard dropped and she caught glimpses of the man beneath the armor. On the third night, Maya woke to voices in the living room. She crept to her door, opening it a crack. Dante stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear. It's done, he said quietly. Car accident, brake failure, no witnesses. The police won't find anything suspicious. Maya's blood went cold. Derek. He was talking about Derek. Clean it up, Dante continued. I want no connection to us, nothing that traces back. He paused. No. She doesn't need to know the details, just that it's over. He ended the call and stood there for a long moment, staring out at the city. Maya watched him. This man who'd just ordered someone's death to protect her and waited for guilt to overwhelm her. It didn't come. Instead, she felt only relief. Bone-deep, exhausting relief. She must have made some sound because Dante turned, his eyes finding her in the darkness. "You heard," he said. Not a question. Maya stepped out of the bedroom, barefoot on the cold marble floor. "Is he dead?" "Yes." Dante's expression was unreadable. Car went off Lakeshore Drive around midnight. He was drunk, lost control, died on impact. You made it look like an accident. I made sure no one would ever connect it to you. To us. He moved toward her slowly, giving her time to back away, to run. She didn't. "How do you feel?" Maya searched herself for horror, for guilt, for anything resembling regret. Found only that profound relief, and something else. Something that felt dangerously close to freedom. "I feel like I can breathe," she whispered. "For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe." Dante stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You're not upset? Not angry that I made that choice for you? You gave me a choice 3 days ago." I said yes. Maya's hand came up to rest on his chest, feeling his heart beat beneath her palm. "I don't regret it. Does that make me a terrible person?" "It makes you a survivor." His hand covered hers. "And it makes you free. No more running. No more fear. You can go home, go back to work, live your life." "What if that's not what I want?" Maya asked. "What if I want this?" "You?" Dante's expression was torn between desire and something that looked like fear. "You don't know what you're asking." "Yes, I do." She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. "I'm asking for someone who sees me, who protects me, who makes me feel safe for the first time in my adult life." Maya, her name on his lips was half warning, half plea. "I'm not confused. I'm not trauma-bonded or grateful or whatever you're thinking." She looked up at him, letting him see the truth in her eyes. "I'm choosing you. Knowing exactly who you are and what you've done. I'm choosing this." Something broke in Dante's carefully maintained control. His hands came up to frame her face, and then his mouth was on hers, hot and demanding and full of barely leashed hunger. Maya melted into him, her arms wrapping around his neck, finally letting on herself have what she'd wanted since that first night in the lounge. His hands slid to her waist, pulling her flush against him, and she felt the coiled strength of his body, the controlled power that had always been there but was now directed entirely at her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "This isn't temporary," he said, his voice rough. "If you stay, if you choose this life, you're mine, completely. I don't share, and I don't let go." "Good." Maya's smile was fierce. "Because I don't plan on going anywhere." 6 months later, Maya stood in the kitchen of Dante's penthouse, their penthouse now preparing dinner while he finished a business call in his office. The space that had once felt impersonal and cold now held traces of her everywhere. Photos on the shelves, books scattered on tables, her favorite coffee mugs in the cabinet. She'd gone back to work after 2 weeks, walking into the hospital with her head high and Dante's ring on her finger. Let people whisper. Let them speculate. She knew the truth. The whispers had started, of course. Dante Moretti's girlfriend. His fiancée. The woman who'd somehow tamed Chicago's most dangerous man. Maya didn't mind. Let them think what they wanted. She knew what she and Dante had was real, built on honesty and protection, and the kind of trust that only came from surviving darkness together. Derek's death had been ruled accidental. His mother had cried at the funeral. Maya hadn't gone, hadn't felt anything except relief that it was over. Nadia had come around eventually, seeing how happy Maya was, how the fear had left her eyes. "He's good to you," she'd admitted over coffee. "And you're good for him. I can see it." It was true. Dante smiled more now, laughed occasionally. Came home at reasonable hours instead of working until dawn. Maya had given him something he'd been missing, someone to protect, who actually wanted his protection. Someone who saw past the danger to the decent man underneath. Strong arms wrapped around her waist from behind, and she leaned back into Dante's chest. "Smells good," he murmured against her neck. "It's just pasta." "I'm not talking about the food." His lips brushed the sensitive spot below her ear, making her shiver. Maya turned in his arms, smiling up at him. How was your day? Better now. He kissed her, slow and deep. How was the hospital? Busy, but good. She'd gotten a promotion last month. More responsibility, better pay. Not that money mattered anymore, but the validation did. Dr. Chen asked if we'd set a date yet. Have we? Dante's thumb traced her jaw. I was thinking spring. Small ceremony. Just people who matter. Whatever you want. His expression softened in that way it only did with her. As long as you're mine, the details don't matter. Maya pulled him down for another kiss, this one full of promise and heat, and the future they were, building together. She'd come a long way from the terrified woman at table 17, from the desperate escape onto a stranger's lap. She'd found something she'd never expected in the shadows of Dante's dangerous world, not just protection, but partnership, not just safety, but love. And for the first time in her life, Maya Torres was exactly where she belonged. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.